I think I'm gonna wait a few years before making that LittleBigPlanet 2 video. Not on my watch! Hello everyone, blueblur98 in 100% fanboy mode here, and today we're finally going to do the fabled LittleBigPlanet 2 video. Last time we met, I reviewed the first LittleBigPlanet game to restart the LBP review marathon. Now, I'm actually going to make a video about LittleBigPlanet 2. Well, it was either do this or get locked up in lazy jail for the next 2 years. After the first game released, it sold like hotcakes, so of course Sony and the people behind LBP1, Media Molecule, were gonna make a sequel to it. Rumors of a sequel actually started floating around on the launch of LBP1 in 2008, but nothing would actually be confirmed until music artist Ocher, I think that's how you pronounce that, tweeted that his music was gonna be used in the game 2 months before it was officially revealed. The game was officially revealed in the June 2010 issue of Game Informer magazine, with a trailer coming out not long afterwards. The game released eventually in 2011 to critical acclaim. So, with that out of the way, let's see if LittleBigPlanet 2 is a worthy sequel to the first game. Now, I know this might sound a little unbelievable to you guys, but oh my god, there's an actual narrative in this game! It's a Christmas miracle! One day, Sackboy is minding his own business when disaster strikes. The Negativitron, that thing, is sucking up all the creativity in the world, including Sackboy himself. Luckily, Sackboy is grabbed in the nick of time by this claw thingy, where he is taken him down to Da Vinci's hideout, where you meet the titular Larry Da Vinci. One amusing conversation with Avalon later, and we're off to meet the rest of the Alliance in their respective worlds. Unfortunately, the Negativitron is right behind us and invades every world with his goons, which are named, and I wish I was joking, meanies. Threatening. Hijinks and some very entertaining cutscenes ensue, and we arrive at the end, where the final battle with the Negativitron takes place. After you defeat him, the Alliance goes home. A pretty simple plot, but I'll take what I can get after LittleBigPlanet 1's non-story. It gives you more of a reason to finish the game, and the villain's motive doesn't come off as really stupid, so that's a plus. The writing isn't half bad either. Not bad at all. The game engine has been upgraded for LittleBigPlanet 2, and it looks a lot better than LBP1. Yeah, some of the cooler graphical effects are missing, like fire, but the lighting, particles, backgrounds, models, textures, they all look noticeably better in the second game. Lights in particular are where this game looks at its best. It once again runs at 720p and at 30 frames per second, but personally it looked way cleaner than 720p to me. It's not quite as clean as, say, a full 1080p image, but it still looks pretty nice. Overall, this is a really pretty game. The sound design is pretty similar to the first game. Most of the same sound effects are here unaccounted for, and sound just as nice as they did previously. You do get the benefit of full voice acting in cutscenes though, a very welcome addition if I do say so myself. The game also has a brand new soundtrack, once again comprised of original and licensed music just like the first game. The original tracks once again steal the show, and they outshine LBP1's soundtrack by a long shot. The licensed tracks are good too, but I don't feel that they live up to LBP1's licensed playlist. Players even have the opportunity to create their own music with the brand new music sequencer. Granted, it's about as limited as your average MIDI sequencer, but people have made some pretty sweet sounding stuff with it regardless. I wish I could figure out how it works though, so that I could make my own tracks. Overall, the game has pretty good presentation, a huge step up from the first game if I do say so myself. Now we arrive to where it matters the most, the gameplay. How does this follow-up stack up? LittleBigPlanet 2 plays pretty similarly to the first game. Like that game, it is a 2.5D physics-based puzzle platformer where you collect bubbles for points and for prizes. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, LittleBigPlanet 2 makes some additions, tweaks, and fixes that makes it feel more like a sequel than a glorified DLC pack for the first game. First of all, Sackboy's physics have been tweaked and now they feel much more weighty and natural. A big step up from the floaty physics we got in LBP1. This alone makes LBP2 play much better than its predecessor, but there's more on top of that. You can also use 3 brand new power-ups: the grappling hook, the creator, and the gravitors. The Grabinaires are probably the lamest in the lineup, as all they really do is let you throw stuff. Yay? While there have been some interesting gameplay mechanics built around them in community levels, most of what you're going to do with them is pick something up and throw it. Sometimes that's something, sometimes not. I mean, that's kind of fun the first few times, but that quickly gets very repetitive and very dull. They always came off to me as the weakest of the bunch. Next up is the Creator, a mix between LPP1's Paintinator power-up and an emitter. Basically, what it boils down to is a helmet that you can fire pretty much anything you want out of. Definitely the most versatile power-up of them all. There's so much that can be done and has been done with this, and it can result in some very engaging puzzles and challenges designed around it. But my favorite of the new 3 power-ups by far has to be the grappling hook. Now, this is a sweet power-up. It feels much more like a proper extension of Sackboy's grab abilities than what the Grabinaires were trying to be, and it's just a fun power-up to use in general. It allows you to latch onto any grabbable object that would be out of reach normally, and swing around on it. You can also grapple onto your friends to annoy the heck out of them. That's kind of fun. The community went crazy with this one in particular. With all the ways the community made unique use of it, using the power-up never felt stale to me. However, the real star of the show is, once again, the Create mode. While you could do a lot with LPP1's Create mode if you were really skilled at it, there were plenty of limitations put on the play. In here, forget that nonsense, because you can do a lot more with this game. Not only is the thermometer way bigger, but you can also create things outside of the platforming genre if you know your way around the logic system, which, safe to say, I don't. People have made twin-stick shooters, completely new types of puzzlers and platformers, arcade-style games, beat-em-ups, even loving recreations of retro games, like this remake of the first dungeon in the original Legend of Zelda game. It's ridiculous how much more powerful LPP2 creation tools are, and people have made some really amazing stuff with it. Most of the same game modes from the first game are still here and accounted for. The story mode has a lot more meat on its bones, and is a lot more engaging than the first game in both story and gameplay, but it's still pretty short, still lasting the same 2 to 4 hour length. The same community modes are here as well, but there's also a new dive-in feature that lets you join a random player in their pod. The search filter also lets you give more detailed searches so you can find exactly what you want. You can also add any level to your queue so you can access it at any time later on. Very handy. Overall, it's a pretty major improvement from the first game as both a platformer and a creation tool. The only real qualm I have with the game is that those long load times for LPP1 unfortunately made their way back into this game, and at some points, they even feel longer. Other than that, it's 100 times better than the first game. Overall, LittleBigPlanet 2 is an improvement in nearly every way, and a stellar game in its own right. A vast majority of the problems I had from the first game have been ironed out completely, and while LittleBigPlanet 2 does introduce a few new flaws of its own, they pale in comparison to the positives here. I may be just a little biased here, but if you thought LPP1 was even half decent, I implore you to at least try LittleBigPlanet 2. That's why I'm giving this game a perfect 10 out of 10 and a gold award. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is my favorite game of all time. So that was my review of LittleBigPlanet 2, an utterly brilliant game that I think anyone who owns a PS3 should have played by now. It's got a few imperfections that, while present, were rather minor. Honestly, I was slightly biased, but I did feel like it was a fair review regardless. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and maybe even subscribing with notifications on to see all of my future uploads. This has been blueblur98 signing off. I'll see you next time as we wrap up this marathon with a review of the rather divisive LittleBigPlanet 3.